Hello, welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name's Carl King, and in today's video we're going to be having a look at some MDF kits from a company called Sarissa Precision. Now, I ordered these from Sarissa, and they kindly helped sponsor this video by sort of giving me a nice little discount along with my purchase, which meant that I could get a little bit more for this video and also for my gaming table. So what do we have? So this is in sort of particular one of their ranges called ZONE THETA, which is a sci-fi range of buildings and accessories. So we have some rooms, we have some corridors, we have some hab pods, we have some room dividers, and we also have the odd ladder. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by showing you some of the kits in their flat pack form, and then we're going to go through some in their sort of made up but bare MDF state, and then I've got some in the current condition of being undercoated white. And then I'm going to do a video in a few weeks time where I'm going to be showing off the videos sort of finished painted, because they're going to have different coloured roofs on certain buildings to donate certain areas within the complex that I'm building. So these two here are the Sci-Fi Hab Pod and the Sci-Fi Scientific Pod. So as you can see, the pictures are very similar, but they don't necessarily mean that the kits are the same when you open them. So we'll put one to one side and we'll crack one open, as they say, by sort of splitting the plastic covering. So, and the other thing about these things is, as with a lot of people, the smell when you open these is quite nice. It's a bit weird. It's a burnt sort of MDF smell, but yeah, quite a nice smell, to be honest. So you get a little piece of card here with some sort of door pieces, door surrounds, and also some vents. So you stick these on some of these squares as they go on the buildings. So as you can see, these have all been laser cut, and laser cut nicely, so nicely in fact that they've just sort of falling out of the inside of the actual sort of framework, if you like, of the sprue. And then you get obviously your other pieces, so you can tell which bits are obviously meant to be on the outside, the ones with the more definition on. So as I say, so you've got here, this will be the roof of the building, because these are the things where you've got like a turning wheel to open the hatch. And then we've got the floor and the base of the actual room. So that's the sort of thing that you get within the kit. They're very easy to make up. I did quite a few. You'll see how many I did over this weekend, and to be honest, what you see as I go through this video took no more than about maybe an hour and a half to put together. So they are very easy, and you get full instructions on the back of the sort of picture that you see on the front cover to show you actually what you've bought. So you can see there's not a huge amount of assembly, so this is good. As I say, this other pod will be very similar, but we're only going to open the one today. But these are the other buildings and things that I got. So this was a set of sort of joining corridors and smaller rooms. And then you've got the settler habitation pod with two side accesses and one side access. Then you've got some hab long entrance links, and then you get some internal wall upgrade sets. So I got there are two different sets. There are two sort of like starter sets, if you like, A and B. So I picked up one of them. So as you can see there, you've got this, and then you get all these other little bits in with the set. And then the two extra ones that I got were the two bigger buildings that I showed you earlier that were still in the flat pack form. So what do they look like when they're made up? Well, here's, as in true Blue Peter fashion, some that we made earlier. So as you can see, the internals are nice and sturdy. You've got some nice pieces here to sort of make sure that they stay up. I used Gorilla wood glue, which is obviously quite strong. Just did a trial fit, to be honest, to make sure that I was putting everything in the right place. And then, yeah, as you can see, they're all nicely solid. And then these pieces clip onto the little connectors on the top here, and they sit nicely. This is a sort of connector stroke. This is one of the sort of entrance pods or links, tunnels. So again, the roofs nicely sit on the top, and then again another one similar to before, but this has only got the one access. The other side is solid, and then obviously you've got those pieces of card that I showed you earlier. They stick on here and make up the sort of door frame. So as you can see, you just sort of like, again, I just sort of watered down a little bit of that Gorilla glue that I mentioned earlier, and then sort of just put those on and then sort of slid them into place before they set nice and solid. And then obviously you get that either end. So I didn't want the doors to open. I don't know whether they can, to be honest. I don't think they can swing, but I prefer them to be like that, to be honest. Just stops them being damaged if anybody else is trying to open the doors and things. And then, as I said earlier, you can tell which bit's the roof because it's got that circle, and then you put a couple of bits on there, you make up the hand wheel, and then it sits on the top, fits in there nicely, and the little pegs stop it from falling off or moving around. And as I say, that's those three made up. And then here we have some that I've put some undercoat on. As you can see, I've left on these, I've left the tops undone, unpainted. I've done the underside, but I haven't done the tops because, as I said, the tops are going to be sprayed a different colour, and might even paint the sort of middle panels the same colour as the top, simply to donate different sections of the settlement stroke base that I'm going to build. So I'm thinking sort of blue for science, green for sort of habitation and sort of living quarters, and then you know, I've got some other colours that I'll perhaps do one or two of those in. But yeah, so you can spray these quite nicely. They do take a little bit of spray. As you can see, they've not fully taken that, but that's more down to me not sort of positioning them while they're being sprayed. So I'll let those dry, and then I'll give those another little coat, and I'm going to paint the insides with a sort of a grey tester pot that you buy in any sort of DIY shop, just to make the internals a little bit of a different colour. But the outsides are going to be mainly white with a different colour, donating what area of the compound it is. So as I say, you've got some nice sturdy things here, and then you do get that little bit of extra bit on here. You get a nice base for it to sit on, and then you can either paint that or put some sort of basing materials on, but I'm just probably going to paint that a generic, maybe sort of white, black, whatever, so it can be put onto different tables or tablecloths as we go along. So I think actually those are potentially on the wrong things there. I think that should be on there and that one should be on here, but they can be as you can see, they can be moved around. Most of these are very sort of similar size, so you can move the lids around if you want during gameplay. And then what we've also got, as I said earlier, you've got some internal walls. So again, these have just had sort of a couple of sort of sprays of undercoat, so they still need to be finished off. But again, I'm probably going to paint these in a different internal sort of colour, so they won't stay white anyway. But they're just sort of something to give a base for some other paint to go on. But as you can see, these things will go into some of these habitation pods, and they can sort of sit in here, and you can use those to block off areas if you want. Obviously they're more for the bigger rooms, but you can do those any way you like. I've got some other ones that I've not sort of shown here that I've got already. And then for the tops of the buildings and for around the compound area, you also get these sort of barriers which you put on top of the buildings, and they just sort of almost like preventing people falling off the edge. So they would sit on the top here, similar to this, and then you get some smaller ones that you can put on as well if you want to. So they just sort of sit on these buildings like so, and they will fit on there quite nicely. You don't have to put them on, you can use these around a compound, so they give you a bit of extra cover if you're playing sort of games like Stargrave, 5 Parsecs from Home, or any sort of generic sci-fi based system. And I'm going to also use it for games of Alien RPG, because I like to or want to run an Alien RPG game with buildings rather than just sort of pen and paper and whatever. I want people to be able to go into rooms, so I'm going to use figures with the alien figures as well, and make up a compound and use these buildings so that they can go in and out. And obviously you can take the tops off the rooms and people can go inside and encounter different things, so you can use those on top of the buildings. But again, they basically come like this, so we'll just flip this over so you get a bit of a better contrast. But again, you've got all of these different lengths of these, so I left some of these unsprayed similar to some of the buildings, so you can see that obviously that's how they come, and they're very easy to put together. It's sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components, bit of glue, and they're done. So very nice indeed. So yeah, and then on these as well, you also get a nice little ladder which you can affix to any of your buildings. So you could put that anywhere on your building and just use that as a means of getting on top of one of them. I've got some more of these, but I might order a few more ladders just to put one on, maybe on 2 or 3 more of these. But yeah, to be honest, you can just say that they can get in from or on top by going up from the internals and using the hatch. And again, if they're outside, they could undo the hatch and you go inside the buildings and or corridors, whatever they might be. So all in all, a very nice set of components. As I say, very sturdy. The only thing that I would possibly prefer is if they came with a some sort of primer on them, because I did spray some of them sort of 2 or 3 times, because it's MDF. I mean, you might be able to treat it first with a layer of maybe sort of watered down PVA, but again, that's something that you'd need to maybe brush on. But because of the nature of the product, it will soak up your spray, so be prepared that, you know, with things like this, and I've got quite a lot of these, I've already used sort of like a tin and a half of spray on the things that you can see here. So you know, they are quite sort of thirsty in that respect of taking the spray, as it were. But other than that, these are fantastic, and they will do an excellent job for what I want on the table. And we'll also use these in club nights. We'll take them to shows, because at different shows we run public participation gaming tables. So yeah, for me, an excellent set of buildings. And as I say, I've got, obviously it's still a bit more, several hours work to sort of finish these off and finish them into what I want them to be and what I want them to look like at the end for the games that I want to play. So what I'll do, I'll sign off here, and then in a few weeks, maybe hopefully sooner, I'll get back to you, and I'll do another video where they're all complete, finished, all the tops are done, any other work on the sides, the internals, and also the rest of the buildings that need making up. So until then, it's bye for now.